Welcome to the free audio rendering of Not Without Scars 2. Such an insightful and impactful work must be accessible to the countless number of people living similar life experiences. Becoming a best-selling author pales in comparison to creating a tool capable of instilling hope in the multitude of people trapped in the valley of decision. My greatest profit comes in helping others emerge victorious over their life struggle. My goal is to encourage individuals to follow their dream. My message: you must never quit on your faith, pursuing your aspiration or vision. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take a moment, invite your family, friends, and acquaintances and enemies to listen to this work chapter by chapter. It is free to listen as well as free to subscribe. Peace, love, and phenomenal blessing.
How do I write my life story? I know hurt and pain. I don't like either one, whether physical or emotional. Herein contains my story, Not Without Scars, Part 2. Optimism, perseverance, persistence, resilience. 2 decades of personal struggle. Optimism. I faced the new millennium with hopefulness. Perseverance. My ego, my humble beginnings, my desire to achieve never allow me to turn away from a difficult task. Persistence. Opposition should be anticipated as an effective strategy to victory surfaces. Resilience. Difficulties do not automatically spell termination. Scars reveal my imperfection as reminders of past episodes of pain, sorrow, or triumph. Scars can tell beautiful story endings or relay misery that wishes to remain anonymous. This work is meant to help others who have experienced decades of struggle. When struggles appear to never end, you must get through the night and face the challenge of a new dawn with fresh hope.
Not Without Scars 2, Chapter 29, Impossible Not to Care. Introduction. No matter how dark the roads I have ventured down, I had never become so embattled I could not empathize with the dismal pain of others. It has become virtually impossible for me not to care. I have been spared so many troubling situations. Understanding the troublesome plight of others is not unusual for me. And because I do sincerely care, my life is wired to seek ways to help alleviate a problem, not ignore the difficulties of someone else's reality. I cannot run or hide from someone who faces dire straits without making serious effort to change their dilemma. When abundant mercy has been shown as it has to me, I see no other avenue for me than to utilize my skills and courage to help others. If this shall demand planning and strategizing for the future, then whatever is required of me shall be applied wholeheartedly. I have not become desensitized to the sufferings that are in such astounding portrayals. The diversification of pain does not lessen the impact upon the individual or an individual family. Solution may arise to a level that significant change transforms into institutional and societal change. The transition, which function in concert with the dominant practice of governments, corporations, bureaucratic policies, and guidelines, help perpetuate the environment that creates lack and suffering. The approach to complete recovery by the improvised must exhibit a liberation aspect from the existing systemic controls. It is impossible for me not to care when I witness the people who possess the least, suffer the most, and die the earliest. If I stand on my theological belief of heaven and hell, I cannot help but care when people exposed to the highest level of misery exhibit the lowest margins of faith. How can I not care when trillions of dollars are spent on wars and the home citizens suffer in poverty, poor medical care, eroding housing, and crumbling education system. Keeping silent, doing nothing, and not developing some plan of egress from a life of sorrow for my people will reveal that I did not care. I do not accept my oneness as aloneness. What good would be my faith if it was only limited to what I could accomplish with my natural resources alone? What good would be my compassion if I did not believe that I could take actions that would produce monumental change? I find it impossible not to care. If I care, I find it impossible not to act. My action must speak louder than my words. My words must paint a vision that can be accomplished with help from those who are enlightened and unafraid to be awakened. My personal life has undergone many sabotage moments that have left evidence of a shambles existence. Through astronomical personal difficulties, financial disasters, and emotional fatigue, my compassion and love for others has never been stronger. My commitment to creating a better existence for Black people and all oppressed people has not ceased due to my divine destiny. I operate from divine energy that the universe will not allow to disintegrate as I stay focused on the goodwill for the people who are routinely trampled by the profit seekers and power brokers of the community, nation, and the world. Historical. If a man does not keep pace with his companion, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away. Henry David Thoreau. Never shut your bowels of compassion. In any race or competition, all participants have some agreed upon equality at the starting line. This positioning has been determined by all the participatory involved. The agreed upon rules are then applied uniformly. Any such violation will result in a disqualification of the violator of the established rules. In the game of life as played out in America, the Black people were not engaged as part of the rule-making committee. In fact, Blacks were not assigned full human status. The game began in America for Blacks with the designation as chattel property, a slave. No other race of people had to first prove that they were human to even enter the game of life. The next obstacle was to break free of the chains of being property owned by another human being. Then equality had to be granted by the very institution that declared a Black person's humanity. In a game of life in America, these forced liabilities made it impossible to keep pace with the dominant participant. In order for the 21st century Blacks to gain equal footing, they must learn to march to the beat of a different drummer. If all the steps, rules, and policies and guidelines are suddenly given to each participant where they are currently located, the starting line then becomes the handicap for winning the race. The acceleration pace must come to a Black listener from different music. The rhythm of each step must have different timing and urgency cadence. Walking at the same speed as those who leap years ahead will never afford a Black community the opportunity to catch up with their counterparts. If Blacks are concentrating solely on what the system will provide, they will never catch up. The correction will come through non-suppression of what the system offers with an additional supplementary infusion of resources by Blacks and non-Blacks supporters of equality for all. black, white, or others, who have made substantial monetary accomplishments in this life, this economy, cannot afford to shut their bowels of compassion. The mentality must shift from giving back to investing in the people for a collective, successful future. Only when the success of all and the quality of life for all has become a heartfelt advantage will the Black community rise to reach the full potential possible. This will be discovered in the teaching and practicing of collaborative responses to the needs of the entire community. A frozen turkey at Thanksgiving to a homeless individual with no kitchen or stove is not the example of help and assistance that will sustain an individual, nor serve as the impetus to get him or her through the trials of the Friday after Thanksgiving. Social Black experience. One important key to success is self-confidence. An important key to self-confidence is preparation. Arthur Ashe. Callousness has no place in the life of the overcomer. In spite of all the perfunctory or symbolic gestures directed toward the Black community and less fortunate people during an election cycle, I still have self-confidence. This is because no elected official or legislation passed by municipal, county, state, or federal lawmakers can take away my self-confidence. Self-confidence originating from my faith assures me that regardless of the current circumstances, I shall achieve success. All that I have experienced in my life and all that I have gone through as a result of consequences, I interpret as necessary preparation for the attaining of the vision which shall be realized as my divine destiny and earthly mission to fulfill. Aside from the shortcomings that are obviously detailed by the acts of those in power and the systemic practices of established system, callousness has no place in my life as I seek to overcome all hurdles, traps, or snares. I have to think clearly as I have chosen to run a personal race for the betterment of an entire race of people. To avoid callousness, I have had to overcome what I have seen as well as what I have not seen. From my Black experience, I have never known a drug addict in an urban community to own an airplane or an airport, ship or shipyard. I have never met an addicted person in an urban community who owns a cocoa plantation in South America. I have yet to meet an individual addicted to heroin in an American urban metropolis who owns a poppy field in Afghanistan. I have no knowledge of a Black-owned gun manufacturer in an urban city or a rural town in America. I am not aware of Black bureaucrats who have made legislative laws that empower the Black community to have an abundance of illegal weapons that come from legal manufacturers when a convicted felon could not get a job in such a facility that produced the weapons. I have no knowledge of reparation being distributed for the descendants of Black slaves in America. I have not been made aware of a land rush, drilling rights, or mineral rights granted to Black people in the millions of acres of land under the control of the Department of the Interior. Theological. It is because of the Lord's mercy and loving kindness that we are not consumed, because his tender compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great and abundant is your stability and faithfulness. Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 to 23, Amplified Bible, Classic Edition. It is never too late to help another. I fully comprehend that if it had not been for the Lord on the side of black people in America, we would have been consumed. I fully believe that if the Lord is not on the side of black people in 2020, the black community in America will still be consumed by the systematic elimination of the black male. It is through diligent faith and practical economic options that the black people will survive in America. The Lord's compassion has not failed. It is now that enlightened people, black and white, can see the path of destruction for one person would destroy a nation. It is only by new mercies, new visions, new leaders, and fresh revelation will black and white people can enjoy stability. Black people must have a stable community with an economic base, cultural identity, social peaceful path, a political agenda for black prosperity, and theology of practical relevance. Then we can see the glory of the Lord in each person we meet. It is never too late to help another individual. It is definitely not too late to help the black community. I will not give up my vision or my divine destiny. I ask each individual to take the same mantle by faith, hope, and love. It is never too late for the positive change to come, for the vision to be realized.